All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me. It's 2 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with how to batch your marketing content with Canva. Fun fact here, I actually built these slides in Canva, the slide that you're looking at right now. And not only have I built them in Canva, but I am also using Canva to do the presentation, which is kind of a cool thing. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with Canva. It's a great design tool, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do, quite a bit of a demo towards the end of this. So today we're going to cover, why should we batch Canva, right? Why should we batch our content, and why should we use Canva to do it? How can we quickly create content, and how we're going to use Canva to design and to also publish what we create, right? So again, I'm Stephanie Osborne. My business is Bliss More Stress Less, and I love helping small businesses figure out their marketing and simplify it, because marketing for small businesses can be truly overwhelming. So let's get started with why. Why do we want to batch our content for marketing? Batching allows you to get into the flow of creating your content. So when you start to gather all your information, if you're just doing this like once a week or once every couple of weeks, or maybe like you're just posting like every couple of days and you're trying to think of, something new and different every time, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy. But when you give your attention and your focus to your content creation, it just makes it go a lot quicker. So this ultimately, you're going to spend a few hours up front, but ultimately you're going to save a whole lot of time on the back end. So it can be a real huge time saver. Another big benefit to doing it this way, to batching everything up, is consistency. When you're batching, you can ensure that your brand stays consistent with like the colors and the graphics that you choose to use in your creations. Batching also allows you to be really consistent with the scheduling of your content. So you can decide what content you want to post on, which days of the week. You can set it all up ahead of time. You can get it all scheduled. It just makes things a lot more consistent. Welcome to everyone that's just joining me. I'm just going over the why would we want to be batching our content. Just running through a few benefits before we jump into the actual how of batching up your content. So brand awareness is another benefit. When you are consistent, it leads to better brand awareness. You want your audience to know at a glance that this content is coming from you. You want them to easily recognize that it's you or your business. People are exposed to over 10,000 marketing messages per day. If your branding is inconsistent, it will be harder for people to recognize your brand. So it's really important to keep things consistent. We don't want to be changing logos all the time. We don't want to be changing our colors all the time. It might look fun and interesting, but on the receiving end of the people that are looking at your messaging and your content, you really want it to click for them. You want them to know that this is you and this is your business. So it really helps tremendously when you can keep everything consistent. And the last benefit that I'm going to talk about for why we should be batching our content is the algorithms, right? So the more you post, the better your algorithm is going to be, which means that your posts are going to be shown to more of your followers. So if you're not posting consistently and you're not posting regularly, then your posts aren't being shown to as many people as they could be. And the more consistent you are, the more the algorithm recognizes that, and the more you will see how many people are being exposed to what you've posted. So if you look in like Instagram and Facebook and some of the other apps, it will actually tell you, like on the back end, how many people are actually being exposed to this particular post. So you'll start to see that number trend up when you start to post more consistently. So these are the reasons why we would want to batch all of our content, right? But the real issue here, I think, is how do we do it? How do we batch our content? How do we make it so that it's simple and easy, right? It can be really difficult to just keep coming up with things off the top of your head every week. And sometimes, if you're not planning this stuff out, you might not realize there's no traction because there's just no rhythm to it, right? So how do we actually sit down and figure out like what it is that we want to talk about? And so the first piece of content that I want to talk to you about, because we're going to talk about several different categories, right? So as we go about batching up our content, we're going to be looking at what are the different categories of content that we want to be able to share with our audience and our followers, right? So the first thing I would absolutely say should be on your list is your expertise, right? Your hot tips, your top 10 list of things to do or things to avoid. Those are the things that people are really interested in. And when you create this tip-based content, it really just showcases your expertise. Oftentimes people think that they need to give a lot of information, a lot of times because we're such subject matter experts in our own area of expertise that we kind of forget that people don't know what we're talking about, right? Like sometimes we use buzzwords that go over other people's heads, or, we're talking about something that's just really, really difficult for somebody else to understand, but it's so easy for us to understand that we feel like we have to give lots and lots of information, but that's actually not true. We really want to dole out very small pieces of information to our audience to help them out. It's for their benefit because it becomes so much more easier for them to digest this information. So less is more in this case. So for sitting down and starting to think about, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to write for these tips? How am I going to gather up all this information? And my recommendation here is to do a brain dump, right? You're just going to take out, maybe it's a piece of paper and pencil, or maybe you're going to do it online, but you really want to start by listing out all of the topics that you feel really, really passionate about, really great at speaking about. Like you could talk about these things forever. These are the topics that you want to put down, right? So you're going to make a big list of these topics. And then from these topics, you're going to look at the ones that strike you the most that you could either speak about or write about. You might already have a lot of this information already built. You might already have a blog that you post regularly, and you might already have a lot of content. So there's nothing wrong with reusing and repurposing content, right? So you really want to look at what you've already got written and then take some time to sit down, and maybe you want to write some more content. It's entirely up to you. There's certainly no harm in taking stuff that you've already created and repurposing it for social media. Because again, you might think, oh my gosh, I posted this a year ago, or I posted this a few months ago. But for your audience, it's brand new for them, right? They might not remember, they might not have been a part of your audience. So there's any number of reasons they might not have seen it, right? Because, they're not everyone that follows you is seeing every single thing that you post. So you want to be able to keep that in mind. So when you've listed, your topics, then I want you to go through and pick like a few of them. And what I want you to do is list the subtopics for your topics. And I've kind of pulled together an example here. So for the purposes of this webinar, I've chosen the topic of sleep, right? Getting a good night's sleep. So if one of your topics was, how to help people feel better rested, then, maybe getting a better night's sleep would be your subtopic. And if getting a better night's sleep was your subtopic, you would then want to kind of dig a little deeper and say, okay, what are the topics underneath that? So maybe you would talk about like bedtime rituals, or things to avoid before bedtime, or maybe like mindfulness and meditation techniques. So these are all subtopics that you can take, right? You can take the subtopic of rituals and you can go down even further. We can drill down further and we can come up with like, 10 things to do before bedtime, right? The things that you should avoid before bedtime or things that you should do during the day. But all of these things, you want to have like a bullet point list, right? You want to have an individual single line, maybe 1 or 2 lines at the most, tip for sharing out with your audience. So it's something that you really want to pull together, right? So, and when you go to pull this together, and we'll talk about this in a minute, think about how do you work best when you're pulling together this type of information. Maybe you do it online. Maybe it's, pulling stuff from maybe various blogs you've written or other things that you've put out there. But you want a way to kind of start to gather up your information. So tips is just really one of the many different types of content that we can create and we can batch. So what we want to do is we want to have more than one type, more than one category of information to be sharing with our followers, right? So some things that we can stop and pull together, and you can pull this together really rather quickly, are things like testimonials, right? So if you were to gather a whole list of testimonials from your existing clients, that's probably something you could pull together super simply, super easily. You could just cut and paste it from wherever they are. Maybe they're in Google, maybe they're on Yelp, whatever format you have them, and put them all into one place, right? Also questions, right? So what are the questions that you're asked the most? This is another great category and something that you can share out with your audience that's pretty quick and pretty easy, right? So what are the questions? Make a big long list of the questions that people are always asking you. Maybe it's about your products, about your services, but maybe it's about your subject matter expertise, right? So think of what are people asking you and make a whole long list of those questions. And then quotes, right? So everybody loves quotes and they're super easy to find these days. There's actually a website called quotemaster.org. And if you go to this website and you type in your topic, like if you typed in sleep or if you typed in diet and exercise, you will get a whole long list of quotes that have the words in there. So, maybe you want to go out and maybe you want to find quotes on mindfulness or meditation, something like that. Anything you can think of that is related to your subject matter expertise, to your topic, something that you think your audience would really enjoy. And you can gather up a number of those quotes. And also, take those quotes and you want to put them in a document where you're tracking everything. The next category is statistics, because this is something that, might lend really well to your particular business or area of expertise, right? So if you're a service-based business, you might have a lot of statistics that correlate to, how you help people. But you can certainly go out for the purposes of this webinar and what I'm going to show you. I went out and I Googled sleep statistics and I got a whole bunch of different statistics that are nice to be able to share out with an audience. We've already kind of gone over tips and how we would go about getting those. And then the category of humor, right? So, things that are maybe totally irrelevant to what you do or what you're selling, but they're just fun, right? So sometimes you'll see out on the internet the fun questions, right? Things like, if you could vacation, would you rather be at the beach or would you rather be, in a cabin in the woods, right? Things like that. People really tend to engage a lot with those different times of fun, humorous, anything like that, anything that kind of gets people thinking. Another sort of category in the same realm is the national calendar, right? So there's a national, if you Google national calendar, and I think I've I've written it down somewhere, but and I can share it with you guys. But there's a calendar of what the day, the week, and the month, right? So there's today might be like National Pecan Pie Day, or it's Donut Day or Ice Cream Day, or National Sibling Day or Pet Day or Pet Week. And there's just such a whole wide range of information that you can tap into that's related to either the products you sell or the services that you offer, or not. Maybe it just is something fun that you want to share out, just a way to really kind of connect with your audience and engage them. So when you've gone through and you've gathered up these different categories, and you don't have to do everything, right? I suggest start with maybe 3 categories, right? Tip being one of them, because I think that really showcases your expertise and it really gives people something to connect with you on. So certainly tip would be the first one I would recommend. And then if you have a lot of testimonials, I would say definitely grab all your testimonials. And then statistics, right? If it works for your particular industry. So I would grab those 3 just to get started, to start batching up the content. So when you go to pull it all together, you really want your data, whether it's your tips, your quotes, whatever it is, you want all this information to be easily accessible and in a format that you can easily cut and paste, right? So you want to have it somewhere for a couple of reasons. First of all, like I said, you really want to be able to just quickly copy and paste it into, your design. But at some point you really want to be able to track, right? You don't want to be reposting the same thing over and over. So you're going to need some way to track what you've scheduled out, right? So whether you're using just a simple spreadsheet, that works. You could use Evernote. That's another great tool that has a free component. So you don't actually even need to be, tracking all sorts of things. That'll actually, you can set timers in Evernote. You can do a lot with Evernote. Asana is another great tool as well. That's more of a project management type of a tool, but you can actually use it for content management in a way that you set it up so that it sends you a reminder to post, or, you can check it off that, oh, I did post this, and you can see the history of it. So these are the things that you want to be looking at so that you can get all your information organized, right? So I've chosen for this demonstration to organize everything just in a simple spreadsheet, right? So I'm going to open up the Excel document in a minute so you guys can see it when we swap over to Canva, because we're going to go over to Canva next, and we're going to take this information that we've created and we're going to design our content in Canva. And I'm going to show you how simple and easy it is to build these designs. And I'm going to show you how simple and easy it is to just post directly from Canva to your social media sites. And then I'm also going to cover, at the end, I'm going to cover a couple of pro features. So I have the pro version of Canva, which is the paid version, but Canva itself, the basic version, is free. Most of what we're going to do is going to be, it will be able to be done in the free version, but I'm also going to show you a couple of things in the pro version that can really step up your social media game. So give me a second while I change the share to the content. Okay. So this is the Excel spreadsheet where for sleeping, I'm going to pretend like I'm a sleep coach, and I've got some tips about getting a good night's sleep, and statistics and testimonials. And I've chosen these 3 because I think they lend really well to kind of give a really good example. If you're someone that's in the health and wellness industry, this is kind of a nice, easy way to see it all laid out in a way that kind of makes sense. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to let's open Canva. All right. So let me click here. We'll go to the home page in Canva. And so you can see this is my recent design. But when you come into Canva, this is the first screen that you're going to see. So this is what it looks like. It doesn't matter if you're the free or the paid, but it's all. I will point out. You will see, and I will point it out. But there's a little crown that indicates when something is a pro feature versus a free feature. But here you can click on the Create a Design button. You can click into the what will you design, the search box, right? You can search for templates. You can search for your own projects. You can search for anything. But we're going to click on the Create a Design, and then you can see all of the different options here, right? So you could create a video in here. I will do another webinar on just solely on the video, because the video that you can do in Canva is amazing. Presentation, like I said, if you didn't catch it when I first started this webinar, but the slideshow that I just presented to you, I not only created in Canva, but I was also using their presentation tool to show it to you as well. But we're going to go down and we're going to click on Instagram post. And it's just going to open up into a blank screen. And I'm going to just make it a tiny. So this bar at the bottom, you can see where I'm hovering over the 18%, right? You can shrink it down. You can crank it up. I like to be able to see it in my screen. I like to see the whole thing in my screen. So at about 20, 25%, that works for me. And you can see over here on the left-hand side, we've got a whole, so I can close this, I can open it back up. But here is where everything that you're going, like all the design elements and templates and text, everything that you need to actually build your design lives in this left sidebar over here. So you could go over to the templates, or you could scroll through, you could see something that catches your eye. It might be the colors, might be the layout of it. There's some really, really cool things you could do. This cell phone picture here is really cool. You can drop your own picture into that. Lots of really cool things. And, if you choose this, it's already done for you. And all you really have to do is manipulate the text and change whatever is relevant to whatever it is you want to be putting out there. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our own design here. And so I've already pre-done this, but I'm going to go through it just to show you. So I wanted pictures of the moon, right? Because I wanted to convey something that sort of made you think about sleep. And you can see that if you search on a term, it brings it all up, right? And you have your choice of it showing you everything. Or you could just do photos, and these are all photographs. You can do the graphics. These are things that people have drawn. There's also videos, audio, but we're going to look at the photos. And I really liked this picture. Now you can see, trying to find one that has the crown come up, but okay. So if some of these photos are free and some are not. So if you are using the free account, you want to make sure you're only choosing photos that are free. Otherwise, all they're going to do, they're going to put a watermark on it, and you really don't want that. So I've selected this photo. I kind of like the colors. I'm going to adjust it so that I make it really big and it fills the whole thing. And then I'm going to click on, so now because it's a photo, I can edit it, crop it, flip it. This would give me the information on it. So I'm going to click the crop button. Because I only want like that part of it. Bring that in there. We'll say done. All right. So I've got my photo, and I'm going to start with the tips. So I've gathered up all my information in that spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of looking for pictures, right, I'm going to, so if you click in this box, you can search for anything, but I want lines and shapes, right? So I want to take a box. I'm going to click on that box. So whatever I click on over here ends up showing up in the design over here. And so I want a box because I want to be able to put writing on this post. But if you put writing directly on the photo, let me just move this out of the way for a second. I'm going to go over here and click on text and add a heading. Right now you can see, because of the photo, it's really difficult for me to find a spot on here where the text is readable. So I'm going to take this box and I'm going to size it where I want it to be. Move that down. And so I'm going to bring this up and we're going to call this sleep tips. And you can see I have the text highlighted in here. So this is all related to the text up here. So I can change this to, doesn't really matter because it's so small. But you can change it, if I change it, it'll make it centered. You can add a bullet point. This would be line spacing in between lines. But this is a little large. So we're going to click on this. We're going to take it down a little bit so that we give ourselves some room. So you can see when I go to move it, if you see the red line that's just between the T and the I, that's saying that where this box is, that's the center. But because I don't have any text from the S all the way to the end, it's not really centered. So we're going to take it and move it. Now it's centered. So we create this sleep tips, and I'm just going to go over to my spreadsheet where I have gathered up all different types of sleep tips. And I'm just going to copy and paste, and I'm going to come back here. I'm going to add a subheading, and it's already, when it's highlighted in blue, it means you can hit the delete key and the whole thing will go away, or you've highlighted it so you can basically copy and paste over it. So I've copied and pasted over it. And so the default is centered. I don't like it centered. I want it to be lined up better. And we can have this be the sleep tip, right? So we can make it a little bigger. We can change the size of the font. I think that's a fairly decent font. If I were to have more than one sentence, I might change the font to a smaller font to make it to be able to fit better. So here's the graphic that we've created, right? It's only taken a couple of minutes to pull a photo, put a block on top of it, and add the text that we want to add to it, right? So here is where this really gets super simple and super easy if you're doing this. And here is where, if you're being consistent with your branding, here is where this saves you a lot of time, because you could take a sleep tip, you could do a different photo for each tip if you wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend that because that's kind of working against brand awareness, right? So invest the time and the energy into choosing a photo that you like. Make sure that your brand colors are in here, right? So you want to make sure that all of that makes it in here, because when people are looking at this, if you're going to be putting this sleep tip out, maybe you're putting a tip out every Monday, every Wednesday, whatever, you want that consistency to carry over. You want people to look at it and to know what it is. So you can take this whole post and I can click on the duplicate page button and it creates a second one. So same exact thing, it's a duplicate. Now, all I have to do, I'm going to go back to my my Excel document where I have the tips in there. I'm going to cut and paste the next one. So now all I have to do is highlight it and copy paste over it and adjust it. Right? So make sure that the box is centered. Make sure the spacing kind of looks okay. But this is as simple as it gets in terms of creating one piece of marketing content and reusing it and keeping it the same so that the only thing that's changing is the information. And this will really, really help with brand awareness, right? You want people to see this and to know exactly what it is when they look at it. And you want them to know that it's you, right? So you might decide that you want to, like at the bottom, let's add another subheading, and let's say my business name, and we're going to take this and we're going to move it down here, and we're going to click on this button, and we're going to say effects, and we're going to scroll down to the effects for the text in the background, and we will change that to a white background, right? So you could put your business name here, making sure you include some, maybe it's your logo, maybe it's your business name, but something that you want everybody to recognize. Now, let's say I've got this right here and I really like it exactly where it is, and I want it on the same spot in the page above me. All I have to do is right click on it, click the copy button, and when I come up here and click the paste button, it drops it in the exact same spot as where it is on this page down here. So that's a really, really nice feature. Anytime you've built 10, 20 of these things, and then you decide, oh, I want to add something else to it, but I want it to be on every single one of them, that's the easiest way to do it so that it shows up in the exact same location. So, we've got our sleep tips, right? We could crank out probably, if you had like 20 of these, it would be super simple to just keep going with this. But what I want to do is take this and let's see how we can manipulate it, because we want to make it into something different. So I'm going to just duplicate the page again. And this time we're going to click on the shape, and up here, when you have the shape highlighted, you can click on the shape button and you can just simply change the shape. And this is another feature that I really, really like about Canva, because this way it kind of changes up the look of it, right? So maybe for this one, we will delete the sleep tips. Maybe this one we will make a statistic. So I'm going to go over to my stash of information. And I don't know if you guys can hear the cat in the background that's crying, but here we go. And we're just going to copy and paste it. And so we will change that. And now we've got a statistic. It still has the branding, still has the business name, still has everything. And we can use this. And this could be another day of the week's posting, right? So I want you to think in terms of posting the same category, like every week on the same day. So maybe Monday it's a tip, Wednesday it's a statistic, Friday it might be a testimonial, something like that, right? But to keep the bulk of this consistent so that it starts to reinforce what your brand is. So now we can take this and we could do the same thing. We're just going to cut and paste everything in there, but I want to move along here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab this shape and now I'm going to look for a quote shape. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different shapes you can choose from, and you can click through, just find the one that you like. I'm going to do the quote because I really want to do a testimonial. So in addition to this, we're going to go back. I'm going to find a star. And I'm going to go see, we've got a whole mix of things in here. So I'm going to click on graphics. And I just want a plain star, right? That's all I want. I want a plain star. I want to shrink it up. And now that I have the star the size I want it, I can click the duplicate button and move it over, duplicate it, and duplicate it. And if I want to make, let's say I want to move all of them. So I'm going to just click this, hold the shift button, click the next, click the next, click the next, and click the last one. Now I haven't grouped them, which is something I could do, but now I can move them around the page so much easier. So I've gotten my stars where I want them to be. Now I'm going to click this one and I want a totally different color. So up here is where you manipulate the color. I'm going to choose the color and I'm going to go with yellow because that's what most of the stars show up as yellow on the different apps. So as you can see, so I changed the first one. Now down here, it asks me, well, do I want to change all the white to the yellow? So if I say yes, now all my stars have changed to yellow. So another little shortcut that I can do. So I can move this up and highlight it. And I'm going to just grab a testimonial. So I took a bunch of testimonials from a friend of mine who does meditations on Hago. My friend Carol Massa has a whole huge list of testimonials there, and I grabbed a whole bunch so I could copy and paste them. Oops. And now I just paste it over, and as we can see, it's way too big, right? So I can hit the minus button and it shrinks it for me. I can, I could just choose, right? I could type a number in there. I could just type 35 if I wanted to. And then I get to position it wherever I want. And then again, I can do like another text box. So I can we'll do a subheading and we'll bring it down here and we will change that and we will change it choose the effects so that we get the highlighted background. And I don't like the yellow, so I am going to choose the green. And the name. See if white looks better. White does not look better. Okay, so we will try, there we go, a different color to have it show up. So it's kind of a cool thing you can play around with. Now we've created all of these different graphics, right? So we have all of these different things. We could have created like 20 of these. You can create them like I did in the same document, if you will, right? So page 1, page 2, I could have just done a separate one. I could go over here. I could say file, make a copy down here. And that would give me a whole separate one. But I don't want to do that. What I really want to do is take each one and I want to show you how easy it is to share it. So you've created this, you're excited, you want to go out and you want to share your creation with your social media account. You go up here, so you don't have to be highlighted on. That doesn't matter. But if you click the share button, right there, you have a whole bunch of options up here, and so you could share it via a link. You could do a whole bunch of different things. We're going to do share on social, right? So you can share it to your Facebook page, whatever you've hooked up to this will show up in here. There's a whole bunch of things in here. I don't have TikTok, but it shows up. If I click on it, it's just going to make me sign, add my TikTok account to Canva. So we'll just choose the Facebook page and I'm going to choose my wellness within reach. And it's asking me do I want to share all 4 pages? I don't. I just want to share the first page. So unclick the all pages, click the one page that I want, click done. And then I can post, right? Sleep tip for the week. I mean, you have up to 5,000 characters, so you can really write as much as you want. You could put a hyperlink in here if you wanted to. And then you can click the publish now. And it will, through the magic of Canva, it will post it. And it says, there you go, it's published. You can open the insights, you can go back to the design, you can just click on the X. But I don't know if you noticed, but if I click the share button and I decide to do it to share to my Facebook page, we'll choose the second page. So this is down here. This is the schedule to publish later button. And this is if you have the pro account. So I have the pro account and you can see it has that little tiny crown, and anywhere in Canva you see that little tiny crown, that means it's a pro feature. You have to pay for the pro plan in order to be able to use it. But if I do it, if I click that schedule button, I can choose, right? So the calendar starts on Monday. So here we are on Thursday. I can pick the date, I can pick the time, click on done, and then I can say schedule. And same thing goes through the whole preparing your design, and your design is scheduled. And scroll down now, and I can make a copy of it, or I can go to the content planner. And so we'll go to the content planner. And it's popped this up for me to show me that this is what it is that has been scheduled. And here's where you can see different things that have gone out. So even if you share it and don't schedule, if you just share it out, sometimes it will show up here on this particular calendar. So you can see what you have going on. So I guess that you can actually see it, and you can see that it's going to Facebook. So if I were to schedule that to Instagram, it would go out there. You would see that it would be in Instagram. So these are some of the really cool, easy, great things that you can do to just quickly create a whole bunch of content for the purposes of sharing this out. And while I don't think that it should be the only thing that you do, I think if you batch all your content and put it all out there, this now allows you to do other things throughout the week that will create more engagement. Like maybe you're doing Facebook Lives or Instagram videos or whatever. But it gives you at least like you have something going out on a regular basis to really kind of bring up your engagement. So I'm going to pull this down. Back to the sleep tips. There we go. So there you go. So because this is a design that I scheduled, if I continue to edit the design, it will actually pause the scheduling, the post that's been scheduled. So it won't actually go out. And I have to reschedule it again. So that's just one thing to know, so that when you are building this content, you definitely want to think about how you want to organize it so that you can get the most time saving out of it, right? So you can schedule it. You can certainly also, I can take it and I can share this design. I can just say, I just want to download it, right? I just want to download it as a PNG. Then I have it and I could go to Instagram or I could go to Meta, right? If you're running Facebook pages and Instagram pages, you're probably using Meta, and you can upload it to Meta, and you can schedule it through Meta, right? So that's something that you can do there as well. It's a few extra steps because now you got to download it and then you have to upload it to Meta, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So now I'm going to open up the chat. So I'm going to go through the chat and let's see, everybody. I'm going to look for your questions and see what people are asking, but if you have any specific questions, feel free to type them into the chat. So the first question was that, will this recording be made available? Yes. So absolutely. I'm going to send a link out. I have recorded this via Zoom, and I've also broadcast it to my new YouTube channel for doing Canva demonstrations. Okay. Hi, Stephanie. Do you have any more tips on the Excel spreadsheet you were sharing, and more on how you grab all of that information? So yeah, so, really what I do when I start to think about like what content I want to put out there, I always think in terms of the categories, right? So when you go to figure out, well, what do I want to put out there? You really want to think of like, what categories of these things do I want? Because you want to go out and gather it. If you can gather it all at once, it makes it so much easier, right? So if you're thinking, you know what, I really like quotes. I really have a lot of great quotes that resonate for me around my, subject matter expertise. And I really want to gather all those up. So go online, find the quotes. There's quotemaster.org, but even if you had a specific person, like, let's say you were a big fan of Louise Hay and you really loved all of her quotes, because I know she has a huge amount of quotes. You could Google Louise Hay quotes and you would get like pages and pages. And then it's just simply a matter of cutting and pasting them into your document, whether you're using Excel or Microsoft Word, whatever tool you choose to put them in. I really like using something like Excel because then I can kind of manipulate the data a little bit further. I can copy and paste it into places, but I can also kind of add more to it, right? Like I could say, okay, like I can add a date to it. Like here's the date that I posted this particular piece of information. So I hope that helps. All right. So people are asking about how to obtain and batch content. So when you're pulling together your information, one of the things you really want to think about, like if you're thinking about, well, I really want to share my expertise, right? So the thing that you really want to do, and I don't know if you caught this in the beginning, but what you really want to do is you want to do a brainstorm and you want to do a brain dump around what are all the topics that you feel super comfortable talking about, right? What are all the things that you can speak to? If I asked you to get up and speak in front of a group of people, and I wanted you to list the top 5 things that you really want people to know about the product or the service that you're offering, then, you would start by listing out what those things are. And then you would start to drill down into each one of them, right? So in the same example that I've given about sleep, right? Like you might, maybe you're a health coach and you want to help people to get a better night's sleep. You might want to talk about diet, right? And then you might want to do a subtopic of diet and list out all the different tips you have for, related to diet and how it, can impact your sleep. Or maybe it's exercise, right? You're still under the same, subject matter expertise of getting a good night's sleep. What are all the exercise tips that you have that help people to get a better night's sleep? So that's kind of like your jumping off point for creating all of this tip related content. So you want to start with what are all the topics? And then you want to do like a drill down method of, okay, I have this topic. I want to help people get a better night's sleep through exercise. Okay, what are the different exercise tips that I can give people? And you want to be really granular. You want to break it down to the super simple tips that you have, because while you might feel that, everybody knows this stuff and who's going to look at this, it's really not true. Our audiences are looking to us for our expertise. And even though we know it and it makes super simple sense to us, other people don't. And that's why they're looking to you. So you really want to drill it down and craft your information in easily digestible pieces, because people will get overwhelmed, right? Like on a regular basis, people are exposed to over 10,000 different marketing messages. And it's a lot of information coming at them, right? We all have so much information coming at us that we really don't want to overwhelm anyone. So that's really how you kind of like drill down into the tips. And then, like I said, if your industry, lends itself to statistics, right? Like it was super easy for me to grab a whole bunch of sleep statistics. But anything related to your industry, no matter if it's your product or a service that you're selling, that can really be super impactful. So let's see what else, what other questions. Anyone else have any questions? Is there anything I can help you understand? I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more. I hope you've seen a few things in Canva that you didn't know you could do. I'm going to be doing a bunch of really short, simple videos on Canva on how to use it quickly and simply. So yeah, if there's anything else, pop into the chat and let me know. Otherwise, I will be wrapping this up, and thank everyone for joining. Oh, a few new messages. Let's see. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for being on the call.